This is Tony Felice, host of the Santaland podcast. First off, Santaland is not just a book, it's a frequency. It's a place in your mind where everything's cool and everybody loves each other and there's lots of adventures that go on. Fairy tales we know from the past, great literature, that sort of thing. And for season 1, we talked about my book and a little bit of the creative process. And this season is about you. And so my gift to you is I'm going to, do one of my little tricks and that I can do. And that's that I can read things I've never seen before and do the character voices and all. So join me each week as I read a chapter from classic literature, doing character voices and all live with the mistakes, dog interruptions, planes flying over, husbands that forget that the light is on the outside of the door. None of that matters because it's really about the real experience of just, kind of talking to you. Each week there's a sort of intro and a recap and a story arc, hopefully, that is something that is meaningful to you. If any of this sounds exciting, then join us every week on all your favorite podcast platforms. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much. Also, if you're an author and you have a book that you'd like me to read and maybe have you on the show, you can reach me on my website. Thank you for joining us on Santaland, modern fairy tales for adults that like to listen. Hello, and welcome back to the Santaland podcast. I'm your host, Tony Felice. And Tim insisted that I read this for you for this podcast, but I don't know if I'll read Pinocchio after this or not. We'll see. But thank you for joining us. And if it's your first time, typically what I do is I have some commentary about the next chapters that we're going to read, and we're in Pinocchio. Chapters 9, 10, and 11. And, what we just found out is that Pinocchio is really uptight guy, and we don't know why. And I'm an uptight person myself, and as an artist, I find ways to release that. And so I was sitting in our camp chairs right on the edge of the rapids for this river, and the sun was shining on my face. I closed my eyes, and I could feel the sunlight warming my face, but I could also hear all the crickets. There are literally millions and millions and millions of crickets that are having a field day under this mat of redwood droppings and sticks and such, that they're chirping away because the predators can't hear them because the rapids are so loud. Isn't that cool? So I could sit there, you can hear them chirping away. There's like a steady chorus, and then there's like ones that go in and out. And it sounds joyful. It really does. And so I leaned into that feeling, there's Opie. Leaned into that feeling of oneness. And I just sort of let myself go. And I could feel that I could feel myself be part of everything, but still myself, if that makes any sense. And when I'm part of everything, everything's amazing. And when I'm recognizing myself, it's not so amazing. And but I'm learning. I'm learning to chill. Here's a truth. The trees have. Okay, when we talk, we also, we exhale. When we exhale, trees inhale, but we exhale, and then what we say, they inhale that as well. Those molecules, those vibrations, right? Even on just on a subatomic level, everything's connected, and it's a vibration in the force, if you will, if you're a Star Wars fan. And I felt a positive disturbance in the force. But when you're part of that oneness, and there's a disturbance, it like takes you out of it, and you're like, damn, it sucks to be me again, you know? And I don't know if there's anything there, right? That kind of letting go and being part of hearing the crickets and listening to what they're saying. But I believe that they're trying to tell us something. And maybe that's what we're missing about with this planet. Not just to take care of the planet, but to listen. Like the trees are telling us everything we need to know because they've recorded history. So, you know, they've recorded quantum mechanics and home economics. You know, Walt Disney and daffodils. Everything, every single thing ever spoken is recorded in their rings, along with the weather patterns. So isn't that cool? Like if we became, like we got out to nature and really appreciated it and felt one with it, that we'd hear stuff that we're missing. Like data, just look at it like data, you know? They put off pheromones and such. And trees are awesome, man. Some of these trees are as wide as a bus, and take 15, 20 people with their arms stretched to get around the thing. There's such a power to them and such a grace. So anyway, I'm inspired by this, and I dictated this poem. He told me to post I'll probably put the original recording on my website, because otherwise I don't know how good it sounds, and you're listening to a podcast, so you can go there to find the original recording. But I'm going to try to read it the way I wrote it, and the way the words just flow. And I guess that's the magic of it. Maybe I could put a little bit of it. Anyway, it's definitely going to be on the website. But the magic is that a lot of times I dictate, this is what I dictated. I'll follow you anywhere. Clouds with their fanfare may come and go. The illusion of darkness, the veil of the illusion falls. The forest is full of claws and crickets and things that sing and trees that whisper endlessly of things they remember. Our history, our words, the planet on which we stand, the ability to create things with our thoughts and our hands. Water rushing by, trees standing tall, sounds, frequency everywhere, calling me to some place over there. Trees and living things and moss that grows on rocks that stay forever, while water flows past it, shaping it, turning it into something else while it associates itself with nothing else but the earth upon which it stands. Its job, the rock, to fall endlessly in a dance with gravity. The trees stand tall endlessly to breathe our breath and hear our words and restlessly sing songs to each other and hold their stance, await the time or circumstance when people awaken from their trance, of circumstance brought on by happenstance of human hand. Remember that? Thoughts turn into things, and things are this and that, but what is this or that, really? When one pauses in nature and sits and looks astoundingly, that marvels to behold every second the world unfolds, and it will never be the way it is right now. This moment will never exist again, unless on some multi-dimensional plane I wish it again. So bring me my magic, trees, bring it back to me, and help me remember who I am, so I can serve endlessly to ascend to who I was born to be. That alone fills the gaps, the spaces in between, a pause that lapses like a space between a sentence before it's spoken. And with simple things one feels awoken. This is what it means to live. This is everything I want, and I have it right now. Everything that is everything that I want, and I have that right now. Someone once said, magic is simple if you look for it with a pure heart. you'll find it right where you left it. So I claim whatever I left behind. Okay, that was my writing. I rhyme differently. I don't know why. I just like to tell a story sometimes, and it happens to rhyme in places. But it's cool. I love it when that flows through me. And the thing is, what I have come to realize is that we all have this ability endlessly to listen to the frequency. I hear it in my ears. They call it tinnitus or tinnitus, which I think is a ridiculous name. But I think it's the frequency where those things come from. Hey, Obi, why are you growling at people? Are you growling at neighbors? Do I have to shut the door? Hey, be a good boy. Come on, you be a good boy now for Daddy, okay? Daddy's doing his show. You want to come up here? Come on. Come up here. Let's get you a good spot, okay? Come on up here. There you go, bud. That's a good boy. Good boy. Where we last left off, it freaked me, that's for sure. Pinocchio's feet burn off. And Geppetto makes him new ones. And he makes him clothes out of the few scraps he has left in his house, including this little crumb of bread that Pinocchio's wearing as a hat. Obi, you're going to have to go outside if you keep growling. He keeps growling. You got to keep growling. You got to stop growling, rather. Anyway, see, you're like Pinocchio. Growl. But so Geppetto, man, what a cool dude. He loves this kid. But why did he make him? I mean, that's the question I still have. Why did he make this thing? And when we get into the next couple chapters, it's even freakier. So, I will have to pause, or actually, I'm just going to go. I'm going to take the dog outside because he's being a little nudge. You got to go outside with your daddy now, okay? He's got to go with you. He's interrupting the show. I'm recording this live from our RV. We are in the middle of the redwoods, and it is incredible. But anyway, back to Pinocchio. I have a big question. Why did Geppetto make this puppet? I guess one would assume that he thinks that Geppetto's lonely, and then he's these rascally boys everywhere. He's just like, maybe I'll make a real boy. One that'd be nice. And so he makes Pinocchio. And then the dude goes and sells the only coat he has, his most prized possession, because with pockets you can hold things like food, and money. And he had to sell it for Pinocchio, who shows genuine affection for Geppetto for him having done that. But it seems like Pinocchio only has nice things to say when he's getting his way. Isn't that something? I know that coming up, I can still hear him growling out there. So I'm going to shut the window. The upcoming chapters are kind of complex. There's a lot to do. I think I need a pair of glasses. Okay. Sorry for all the interruptions. So we are on to Pinocchio, chapter, where are we at? Okay, this is chapter 9. Okay, let's see if I can get the voices right. Okay. Chapter 9. Pinocchio sells his spelling book that he may go and see a puppet show. As soon as it had done snowing, Pinocchio set out for school with his fine spelling book under his arm. As he went along, he began to imagine 1,000 things in his little brain, and to build 1,000 castles in the air, one more beautiful than the other. And talking to himself, he said, "Today at school, I will learn to read at once. Then tomorrow I will begin to write, and the day after tomorrow to cipher. Then with my acquirements, I will earn a great deal of money, and with the first money I have in my pocket, I will immediately buy for my papa a beautiful new cloth coat. But what am I saying? Cloth indeed! It shall be made of gold and silver, and it shall have diamond buttons. That poor man really deserves it, for me to buy books, and he taught me that he's remained in his shirt sleeve." Excuse me. "That poor man really deserves it, for to buy me books and have taught me he has remained in his shirt sleeves. And in this cold, it is only fathers who are capable of such sacrifices." Whilst he was saying this, and with great emotion, he thought that he heard music in the distance that sounded like fifes, and the beating of a big drum. Drum, rum, brum, bum, bum. He stopped and listened. The sound came from the end of a cross street that looked to a little village onto the seashore. "What the can music be? What a pity that I have to go to school, or else—" And he remained irresolute. It was, however, necessary to come to a decision. Should he go to school, or should he go after the fifes? "Today I will go and hear the fifes, and tomorrow I will go to school," finally decided the young scapegoat, shrugging his shoulders. The more he ran, the nearer he came to the sounds of the fifes and the beating of the big drum. Brum, 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 bum, bum. At last he found himself in the middle of a square, quite full of people, who were all crowding around a building made of wood and canvas, and painting 1,000 colors. "What is that building?" asked Pinocchio, turning to a little boy who belonged to the place. "Read the placard. It's well written, and then you'll know." "I would read it willingly, but it so happens that today I don't know how to read."
"Bravo, blockhead! Then I will read it for you. The writing on the place card in those letters in red as fire is...
What in the world? I would
read it willingly, but so happens that today I don't know how to read." "Bravo, blockhead! Then I'll read it to you. The writing on that placard in those letters, red as fire, is Great Puppet Theater."
"Has the play begun long?"
"It's beginning now."
"How much does it cost to go in?"
2 pence.
Pinocchio, who was in a fever of curiosity, lost all control of himself, and without any shame he said to the little boy to whom he was talking, "Would you lend me 2 pence until tomorrow?"
"I would lend them to you willingly," said the other, taking him off. "But it so happens that today I cannot give them to you."
"I will sell you my jacket for 2 pence," the puppet then said to him.
"What do you think I could do with a jacket of flowered paper? If there was rain and it got wet, it would be impossible for me to get it off my back."
"Will you buy my shoes?"
"They would only be of use to light a fire."
"How much would you give me for my cap?"
"That would be a wonderful acquisition indeed. A cap made of a breadcrumb. There would be a risk of the mice coming to eat it while it was on my head."
Pinocchio was on thorns. He was on the point of making another offer, but he had not the courage. He hesitated and felt irresolute and remorseful. At last he said, "Will you give me 2 pence for my new spelling book?"
"I am a boy, and I don't buy from boys," replied his little interlocutor.
interlocutor who had much more sense than he had. "I'll buy the spelling book for 2 pence," called out a hawker of old clothes who'd been listening to the conversation. And the book was sold there and then. And to think that poor Geppetto had remained at home, trembling, with cold in his shirt sleeves, that he might buy his son a spelling book. Chapter 10. The puppets recognize their brother Pinocchio and receive him with delight. But at the moment their master Fire Eater makes his appearance and Pinocchio is in danger. When Pinocchio came into the little puppet theater, an incident occurred that almost produced a revolution. I must tell you that the curtain was drawn up and the play had already begun. On the stage, Harlequin and Punchinello were as usual quarreling with each other and threatening every moment to come to blows. The audience, all attention, laughed till they were ill as they listened to the bickerings of these two puppets, who gesticulated and abused each other so naturally that they might have been two reasonable beings and two persons of the world. All at once Harlequin stopped short, and turning to the public, he pointed with his hand to someone far down in the pit and exclaimed in a dramatic tone,
"Gods of the firmament, do I dream or am I awake? But surely it's Pinocchio!"
It is indeed Pinocchio!" cried Punchinello. "It is indeed himself!" screamed Miss Rose, peeping from behind the scenes. "It is Pinocchio! It is Pinocchio!" shouted all the puppets in chorus, leaping from all sides onto the stage. "It's Pinocchio! It's our brother Pinocchio! Long live Pinocchio!" "Pinocchio, come up here to me!"
"Pinocchio, come up here to me!" cried Harlequin, "and throw yourself into the arms of your wooden brothers!"
At this affectionate invitation, Pinocchio made a leap from the end of the pit and onto the reserved seats. Another leap landed him on the head of a leader of the orchestra, and he then sprang upon the stage. The embraces, the hugs, the friendly pinches, and the demonstrations of warm, brotherly affection that Pinocchio received from the excited crowd of actors and actresses of the puppet dramatic company beat description. The sight was doubtless a moving one, but the public in the pit, finding that the play was stopped, became impatient and began to shout, "We will have the play! Go on with the play!" It was all breath thrown away. The puppets, instead of continuing the recital, redoubled their noise and outcries, and putting Pinocchio on their shoulders, they carried him in triumph before the footlights. At that moment, out came the showman. He was very big, and so ugly that the sight of him was enough to frighten anyone. His beard was black as ink, and so long that it reached from his chin to the ground. I need only say that I'm already trying to speak as this character. At the moment, out came the showman. He was very big and ugly, so that the sight of him was enough to frighten anyone. His beard was as black as ink, and so long that it reached from his chin to the ground. I need only say that he trod upon it when he walked. His mouth was as big as an oven, and his eyes were like two lanterns of red glass, with lights burning inside them. He carried a large whip made of snakes and foxtails twisted together, which he cracked constantly. At his unexpected appearance, there was a profound silence. No one dared to breathe. A fly might have been heard in the stillness. The poor puppets of both sexes trembled like so many leaves.
"Why have you come to raise a disturbance in my theater?"
asked the showman of Pinocchio, in the gruff voice of a hobgoblin suffering from a severe cold in the head.
"Believe me, honored sir, that is not my fault."
"That is enough! Tonight we will settle our accounts."
As soon as the play was over, the showman went into the kitchen, where a fine sheep, preparing for his supper, was turning slowly on the spit in front of the fire. As there was not enough wood to finish roasting and browning it, he called Harlequin and Punchinello and said to them,
"Bring that puppet here. You'll find him hanging on a nail. It seems to me that he's made of very dry wood, and I'm sure that if he were thrown on the fire, he would make a beautiful blaze for the roast."
At first, Harlequin and Punchinello hesitated, but, appalled by a severe glance from their master, they obeyed. In a short time, they returned to the kitchen, carrying poor Pinocchio, who was wriggling like an eel taken out of water and screaming desperately, "Papa! Papa, save me! I will not die! I will not die!" Chapter 11. Fire-eater sneezes and pardons Pinocchio, who then saves the life of his friend Harlequin. The showman Fire-eater, for that was his name, looked, I must say, a terrible man, especially with his black beard that covered his chest and legs like an apron. On the whole, however, he had not a bad heart. In proof of this, when he saw poor Pinocchio brought before him, struggling and screaming, "I will not die! I will not die!" he was quite moved and felt very sorry for him. He tried to hold out, but after a little while he could stand it no longer, and he sneezed violently. When he heard the sneeze, Harlequin, who up to that moment had been in the deepest affliction and bowed down like a weeping willow, became quite cheerful, and leaning towards Pinocchio, he whispered to him softly,
"Good news, brother. The showman has sneezed, and that is a sign that he pities you, and consequently you are saved."
For you must know that whilst most men, when they feel compassion for somebody, either weep or at least pretend to dry their eyes, Fire-eater, on the contrary, whenever he was really overcome, had the habit of sneezing. After he sneezed, the showman, still acting the ruffian, shouted at Pinocchio,
Have done crying. Your lamentations have given me a pain in my stomach. I feel a spasm that almost... Ecti!
Oh, I guess that's... "Bless you," said Pinocchio.
Thank you. And your papa and your mama, are they still alive?
Okay, who is this guy?
Thank you. And your papa and your mama, are they still alive?
Asked Fire-eater.
"Papa, yes. My mama, I have never known."
Who can say what a sorrow it would be for your poor old father if I were to have thrown you amongst those burning coals? Poor old man. I compassionate him.
And he sneezed again 3 times.
"Bless you,"
said Pinocchio.
Thank you. And all the same, some compassion is due to me, for as you see, I have no more wood with which to furnish my mutton. And to tell you the truth, under the circumstances, it would have been a great use to me. However, I have had pity on you, so I must have patience. Instead of you, I will burn in the spit one of the puppets belonging to my company. Oh, there, gendarmes!
At this he called 2 wounded gendarmes, who immediately appeared. They were very long and very thin, and they had on cocked hats and held unsheathed swords in their hands. The showman said to them in a hoarse voice, "Take Harlequin and bind him securely, and then throw him on the fire to burn. I'm determined that my mutton shall be well roasted." Only imagine that poor Harlequin, his terror was so great that his legs bent under him, and he fell with his face to the ground. At this agonizing sight, Pinocchio, weeping bitterly, threw himself at the showman's feet, and, batting his long beard with his ears, he began to say in a supplicating voice... Computer went dead. Still on. Okay. Where are we? Only imagine the poor Harlequin. His terror was so great that his legs bent under him, and he fell with his face to the ground. At this agonizing sight, Pinocchio, weeping bitterly, threw himself at the showman's feet, and bathed his long beard with his tears. He began to say in a supplicating voice, "Have pity, Sir Pyrator!"
"Here there are no sirs," the showman answered severely.
"Have pity, Sir Knight!"
"Here there are no knights."
"Have pity, Commander!"
"Here there are no commanders."
"Have pity, Excellence!" Upon hearing himself called Excellence, the showman began to smile, and became at once kinder and more tractable. He turned to Pinocchio, and he asked,
"Well, what do you want from me?"
"I implore you to pardon Harlequin."
"For him there can be no pardon. As I have spared you, he must be put on the fire, for I am determined that my button shall be well roasted."
"In that case," cried Pinocchio, proudly rising and throwing his cap of breadcrumb, "in that case, I know my duty. Come on, gendarmes! Bind me and throw me amongst the flames! No, it's not just that poor Harlequin is my true friend. He should not die for me." These words, pronounced in a loud, heroic voice, made all the puppets who were present cry. Even the gendarmes, although they were made of wood, wept like two newborn lambs. Fire Eater at first remained as hard and unmoved as ice, but little by little he began to melt and to sneeze, and having sneezed 4 or 5 times, he opened his arms affectionately and said to Pinocchio,
"You are a brave, good boy. Come here and give me a kiss."
Pinocchio ran at once, and climbing like a squirrel up the showman's beard, he deposited a hearty kiss on the point of his nose. "Then the pardon is granted?" "Oh, it's Harlequin. Then
"Then the pardon's granted?"
asked poor Harlequin in a faint... "Then the pardon is granted?" asked poor Harlequin in a faint voice that was scarcely audible.
"The pardon is granted,"
answered Fire Eater. He then added, sighing and shaking to his head, "I must have patience. Tonight I shall have to resign myself to eat the mutton half raw, but another time, woe to him who chances." At the news of the pardon, the puppets all ran to the stage, and having lighted the lamps and chandeliers as if for a full-dress performance, they began to leap and to dance merrily. At dawn, they were still dancing. Okay, I have questions. So Pinocchio meets his first temptation. He hears the drums from this puppet show, and he encounters a boy, and he wants the boy to buy his stuff so he can go see the thing. But we don't know what's going on with the boy. Like, why isn't the boy in school? Is the boy on his way to school? We don't know that. But that's not really the important thing, I think, because it's like it's temptation and your conscience from a stranger. Okay, it's like your reasoning self. Hey, listen, you don't. Everything you have is a liability. It's not an asset. And so Pinocchio's like ticked off, and then suddenly someone says, "Hey, yeah, I'll buy the thing," and all for naught for poor Geppetto. And Pinocchio knows this in his heart, in his soul. He knows this. It's some heavy shit, right? And then he successfully makes it to the theater, and they all recognize him. What? How? The thing was in a piece of wood that Geppetto bought, ostensibly to create a real boy, to create something he could love. They could maybe even make some money for him, but he creates a puppet. But these puppets are running around, and who's operating the puppet? Right? What is that? Chance? Is it choice? What is that? These puppets recognize him as kin, which suggests that his spirit lives in the wood, and it's recognized by other trees. Trees recognize each other. They have communication mentally, Okay, all right. So then we have the puppets are so excited to see Pinocchio. So Pinocchio must be important. Maybe that's why he acts like a little prince, and he wants all these things right away. Give me this, give me that, give me this. Because he used to be, maybe a giant sequoia, and now he's a little puppet. And it's like, screw this. Give me what I want, what I need, what I'm entitled to. I was a giant sequoia, and I've been reduced down to a puppet. Give me my friends, give me my food, give me what I need. Gimme, 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 gimme. And what happens? Pinocchio realizes later on that he can't get away with stuff. So it's this conscience that is so powerful and palpable between the lines here for me. And that kindred spirits recognize each other, tribes recognize each other. But they're in service to people. Why are these puppets in service to human beings? Because I think trees are in service to us. Everything on the planet. Call me crazy. You can call me whatever you want. I don't care. I really don't care. I have zero. Call me whatever you want. I'm secure in who I am, and I just know stuff. I feel it in my heart. Anyway, back to Pinocchio. Pinocchio meets these puppets, and he causes such a ruckus that the stupid fire eater doesn't even recognize that, oh my God, the star of the show has just arrived and you could be making more money. This is how people often leave. They step over a dime to pick up a penny. It's like the impulse is there for frugality or for responsibility or prudence, but it's misdirected. So here he's missed opportunity, huge. And what we've learned is that Geppetto, most people are surrounded by 5 people like them. So he's poor. These people are in poor town, And so when finally Pinocchio calls this guy his excellency, he hits the button. But before that, the guy makes money with these. He is abundant. Apparently, you hear there's an abundant chorus of puppets. So either this guy, and it's to me, if I were to guess, the fire eater inherited this show, and he doesn't give a shit. He's going to ride it out. He's just going to ride it out. But there's something in him that's good. So even opportunists, when they're not doing things for the good, they miss opportunities. That's what's just so crazy about the world. We just miss so many opportunities worrying about the wrong stuff. But anyway, this isn't that show. This show is about reading and talking about Pinocchio. And then there's gendarme. There's order, and there's fanfare, and there's tradition, and there's tribal recognition and cultural expression among the puppets. And then still there are gendarmes. There's always somebody there to hold it all together. Why do we need policemen? Why can't we do it ourselves? Why can't we just be so good that there's no need for any other stuff, so we just do other things? Anyway, I think that's maybe what the author's kind of hinting at. This is like the AP style of literary analysis, philosophical. I'm an artist who graduated with an engineering degree, and I make art for a living. So you never know where life's going to take you, like Forrest Gump, feather here and there. And like Forrest Gump, Pinocchio is going on all these things, but see, Pinocchio doesn't have good intentions. Why? Why is that? Because I think he's been robbed of something, and he's trying to catch up. He's been robbed of his own excellency. We are all excellency. We're all so beautiful, and we have our conscience everywhere. It shows up as a cricket, as a child. It shows up as an adult who pours water over the kid. I'm continuously blown away and inspired, not just by the art that I encounter. I mean, what are the chances? I mean, we could go there if we wanted to, but it's so applicable to life. And what I like about myself is that, because I've always been interested in kooky stuff. I live somewhere between the prosaic and the uncanny, and I'm okay with all of it, because the things that are on both sides, extreme on both ends of a bell curve, while maybe extraordinary, it's in the middle where all the stuff gets done. So one end or the other, from your perspective, is jumping to the end without the middle. wallowing in these thoughts, applying philosophies, Plato's allegory of the cave. Pinocchio is who? Is he in the cave? Is he trying to get out of it? We don't know. But these are really great questions to ask, I think. And great art, great literature. God, it sounds so much like the way I write. But I don't have enough dialogue, maybe. I've got to go back and visit it. I have a meeting with my team tomorrow. Anyway, those are my thoughts for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And oh my God, I love you guys. Thank you sincerely for being here. And Tim told me to put the other recording at the end of this podcast, so you can listen to it if you want to. It begins in about, 10 seconds. I'll follow you anywhere. Clouds with their fanfare may come and go. The illusion of darkness, the veil of the illusion falls. The forest is full of claws and crickets and things that sing, and trees that whisper endlessly of things they remember, our history, our words, the planet on which we stand, the ability to create things with our thoughts and our hand. Water rushing by, trees standing tall. Sounds, frequency everywhere, calling me to some place over there. Trees and living things and moss that grows on rocks that stay forever while water flows past it, shaping it, turning it into something else, while it associates itself with nothing else but the earth upon which it stands, its job to fall endlessly. The trees to stand tall endlessly, to breathe our breath and hear our words and restlessly sing songs to each other and hold their stance. Await the time or circumstance when people awaken from their trance. Of circumstance brought on by happenstance of human hand. Remember that? Thoughts turn into things, and things are this and that. But what is this or that really? When one pauses in nature and sits and looks astoundingly at marvels to behold every second the world unfolds, and it will never be the way it is right now. This moment will never exist again unless on some multi-dimensional plane I wish it again. So bring me my magic, trees. Bring it back to me and help me remember who I am so I can serve endlessly to ascend to who I was born to be. That alone fills the gap, the spaces in between a pause that lapses, like a space between a sentence before it is spoken. And with simple things, one feels awoken. This is what it means to live. This is everything I want and I have right now. Everything that is everything I want. And I have that right now. Someone once said, magic is simple. If you look for it with a pure heart, you'll find it right where you left it. So I claim whatever I left behind.